Hey folks, how you doing? Papa Joe here. Dadgum, I got ashes all over me. I'm sitting down here in Little Rock, and dadgummit, I got a comment here from Trainer James, 2013. Excuse me. I'm going to have a stab at answering his questions. And the answers ain't going to be as simple as the questions. It says, it would be interesting to know what your solution is to the homeless epidemic America is seriously having across this rich nation. Also, do you think the family courts have caused more harm than good? America is turning into a third world country, and it's only getting worse. Stay bunkered in. I know I am. Well, as an old jarhead, we always said bunker down. Bunker down or hunker down. I'm glad you are. If you're in a truck, that's hard to do. Alright, there we go. Alright, like I said, it's not going to be as simple as you asking. First off, I don't consider America a rich nation anymore. We have so many poor people, it's pitiful. And we can't even pay our own way. How far in debt are we to China and everybody? So, and the reason that we ain't is because of our politicians. Our politicians are a whole lot of our problems. The thing about the homeless, it kind of goes hand in hand with them being homeless and hungry. And in this day and age, for the last few years, and it's steadily getting worse and spreading, is the local governments are cracking down, prosecuting, ticketing, harassing people that are going out and trying to feed the homeless. There are several people that just cook large meals and go out to a local park where they know there's a lot of homeless, and they feed them. They're being stopped. Why? I tell you why. Because the articles I've read have told you why. Because they want you to go through the local city-run stuff so that they have their share at grabbing what they can. It's like when I was in the Philippines back in the 70s. Marcos was in office. And the Philippines was going through some rough times. Just after Vietnam and all this other stuff, they was going through some really rough times. And our agreement with Marcos between the U.S. and the Philippines was that anything that we gave to the Philippines, he got first dibs. Now that don't sound all bad, does it? We, as the grunts, as the jarheads, we had one big problem. We had to guard our dump, the base's dump. And we had to go out here and literally risk our lives trying to stop these poor, starving people from stealing stuff out of our dump. They wanted our trash. our trash was better than what they had. So we literally risked our lives guarding trash, simply because Marcos got the first pick. I never once seen that SOB out there on that trash pile. Well, it's the same thing with our people that are trying to feed the homeless. We have good Samaritans of every race, of every religion, of everything that go out and try to feed the homeless. Just try to share a little bit of love. And our local governments wants their cut. Why? You're already taxing us to death. We left England because of taxation without representation. Remember? That was our big gripe when we pulled away. We're facing the same kind of thing now. Yes, we have elected representatives up there and all that, but they don't have our best interest at heart. They have their wallet at heart. So once again, we are being taxed without representation. And worse than that, they can't control their budget. So they keep trying to grab more and more and more from you and I. It still ain't enough. So they ran our country in the hole so damn far that our grandchildren is going to be paying for it. And now they want to take the food out of the mouths of the homeless. All of our problems comes down to government. All right, you say they're homeless, and they are. In every major city where it's an epidemic, we have a whole lot of empty buildings, not houses, buildings. If our government would keep their wallet out of the interest, and if they would give incentives to these landowners and some of the local people, there's a whole lot of empty buildings that could be created to help homeless people. Our veterans should have first shot. We have so many veterans that have risked and sacrificed not only their physical being, but their mental being, and yet we're really not doing anything to help them. I think we should be opening up some of these buildings and turning them into a decent bunkhouse. Get these veterans some help, physically and mentally, and help them to get a new start in life. Get their feet back underneath them. Now the unpopular part, I think we need to run all these illegals out of our country. I think we need to have a massive roundup of illegals and run them off. Now some of the children, the DACA stuff and all that, children that was born here illegally, brought here as babies illegally, they are an exception to the rule, and we do need to figure out something to do with them. However, it's not our fault as Americans that they ended up here in the circumstance that they are in. That ain't our fault. No, we don't need to be cold-blooded and take some 24-year-old person, male or female, I don't care. And I don't care what country. It's easy to say Mexico, but Mexicans ain't the only illegals that we have. There's a whole lot more. Dadgummit. But we don't need to take this person in their mid-20s that was brought here not of their own will or power. This is the only thing they know. And let's say their parents are from Mexico. We don't need to ship this 24-year-old to Mexico. That ain't right. It ain't no more their fault than it is ours. The fault lays on their parents. However, their parents damn sure need to go. And I don't want to hear about tearing the families apart. I don't want to hear it. Their parents knew when they snuck into this country illegally that that was a risk they was taking. They got by with it all these years, so now they got caught. Sucks to be you. We need to get rid of the illegals. And the job that they claim that they're doing, digging that ditch and painting that house and all these little jobs they claim Americans don't want, I guarantee you that there are some veterans and there are some homeless people that would love to do that job. All homeless people are not capable of working. Let's just put it out there like it is. It's the truth. However, there are some that can't. There are some that want to. Let them do them jobs. Let them have a shot at getting their feet back underneath themselves. No, this isn't a cure-all, fix-all type scenario, but it would be a start. You ask my opinion, and I'll give it to you. Let me see what else you asked here. Oh, you asked about the family courts. Yes, family courts are a problem. We have too many people that are being voted in and appointed, and instead of interpreting the Constitution and ruling accordingly, they try to bend, twist, and warp that Constitution to fit their agenda. That isn't what they was hired to do. They was hired to enforce our Constitution. Yes, they have to interpret it. That they do have to do. However, too many of them are interpreting it wrong. It's the same thing that I tell you with the Bible. The Bible was written so long ago that you cannot read it with a mindset of 2018 and interpret what they was doing in 1515. Same thing with the Constitution. You cannot read it with a mindset with the way things are going today compared to what was going when it was written. When you start doing that, that's when you get these flimsy little arguments about the gun rights. Oh, well, they was talking about guns to go hunting. No, they weren't. Hunting was just a matter of fact, a way of life. That was just a given back when that Constitution was written. They was talking about being able to take up arms and defend your family and or country. That does not need to change. That definition should still stand today. We as Americans have a right to keep and bear arms, just in case we need to defend our homes and our country. There was somebody years and years ago They had talked about invading America. They was having a conversation. They weren't actually planning on it. And they said, you'll never take America. There's guns behind every rock and tree. That's how we need to be known. There is no excuse for you and I as legal, law-abiding citizens to have to give up our rights to bear arms. I won't. Yes, we have problems. Address the people that are creating them problems, your little gangbangers and little thugs and little outlaws. You have enough laws on the books that you can crack down on them. Make the penalties really stiff and enforce them, and it'll make some of the others think about it twice. But instead of doing that, we want to sugarcoat it, pat them on the hand, blame everybody else except the one that's actually creating the crime. That's what's wrong with our courts. Just interpreted the way it was meant and cracked down on them. I know some families that have literally been tore apart because of our courts. And not just our courts, but some of these government entities that we have created. Some of the family welfare stuff, whatever they call them. These people don't live in a real world. They don't see the world as you and I do. And they have literally just ripped some families apart. So it's okay if we have a government agency that rips apart American lives, but the courts are good with that. But the courts are not good with ripping apart these illegals' lives and families. Don't make a lot of sense, does it? Too many of the courts and too many of the government agencies are not worried about you and I. Our best interest is not at their heart. However, that illegal is. They just shut down the country for 3 days, and they've only came upon a resolution for 8 days, and all of this is over illegals. It ain't over you and I. It ain't over them homeless people. It's over illegals. Are you seeing where our problem is? Our problem is with our government and our courts. So yes, we have problems. Real simple to me on all of that. Whoever's running in your district for any level, whether it's federal, state, or county, if you do not know beyond a shadow of a doubt that they have been fighting for your rights, don't vote for them. If there's some young blood coming in there that you've never heard of, you know this guy ain't worth a damn, or gal, whatever. They ain't been fighting for you. Give that new one a shot. That's the biggest problem with the Democratic Party, is these Democrats are voting in the same nutcases. Look how long some of them's been in office. And do you know why? Because it's a proven fact that if you recognize the name, you'll vote for them again. Whether they did good or bad, you'll vote for them again. There was a movie a while there was a movie a while back I'm trying to think of the black guy that played the part. He's a comedian type actor. Man, I can't think of his name. He's a big one too. He went to run for an office. He happened to have the same name as this guy that had just died or wasn't running or whatever. Well, the guy that just died, let's say he died, I don't remember. He was an old white guy. And he had held this office forever. And there was some political people that wanted to keep that seat. They found this black dude with the exact same name. And they ran him. And he got elected simply because everybody recognized the name. Now, they all thought they was voting for the old white guy, but they all wound up voting for this young black guy. That's a lot of truth in how it works. So it's real simple. If you recognize a name on that ballot, and you don't know without a shadow of a doubt that that person has been working for you, vote for the other one. Period. Another problem we have is that there's too many people that's not running. These positions are not being challenged. I made a video the other night where that person had made a comment about gays and all this stuff, and thanked me for my support. And I'd made a video, and I told them in that video that if they was actually running, yeah, they had my support. Because there's too many people that want to complain and carry on, but they don't want to vote. I'm sorry, they don't want to run for that position. If I had the money, I'd run for one. I don't know what one, but I'd run for something. Now, once folks heard me talk, probably wouldn't be too many vote for me, but, you know, and glass houses. I'm sitting here saying people don't run for the positions, and I can't. Most of y'all can't. Because they keep us busy working day to day. Paycheck to paycheck, more or less. Barely keeping your head above the water. I know, we're all there. I had somebody a while back said he felt sorry for me that at my age I was still working paycheck to paycheck. Well, ain't we all basically? Even if you're stashing back a little bit, aren't we all really? Unless you're part of that 1%er group. Don't feel sorry for me. I'm doing okay. Me and old grandma, we getting along. I don't know if I answered your question for your satisfaction. But there are stuff. If the people in power, the elected idiots, if they would actually start putting their minds to it, and if the local governments would quit being so damn greedy and trying to get their cut, we want our share, we could fix some of our problems. But as long as it's politics as usual, we're not going to fix them. That's why they're scared of Trump. They're not afraid that he's going to fail. They're afraid that he's going to succeed. And if he is successful in what he's doing, and so far he's been doing pretty damn good. That's, in my honest opinion, I don't think this little government shutdown had so much to do with DACA as they want you to think. I think DACA was only an excuse to do this government shutdown, simply to take the attention away from his 1-year anniversary. His 1 year in office, they didn't want it all coming out how much the man's actually got accomplished in a year. So instead, let's create this false flag over here and get everybody talking about the Trump shutdown. Do you really think it was a Trump shutdown? I don't. We know who it was, the Democrat Party. Because they wanted to divert our attention. They wanted us to look over here at this bad that they created instead of looking at the good that Trump has done. That is your swamp. That is what needs to be drained. We need to chop the head off that monster. We need to get rid of that kind of politics. That's the word according to Papa Joe. Y'all remember, God loves you. I do too. Our elected idiots, we ain't nothing but money to them. If you're not voting this week, they don't care about you other than how can we get your money. You don't need it. We're only letting you keep it for a little bit and then give it back to us. Y'all have a blessed evening. Let me know what y'all think. You heard his question. I read it. What's the solution to the homeless? Do you think that the courts have helped or hurt? Y'all have a blessed evening. Good night.